Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. We're live tonight with a special guest. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back, everybody. You know, it's been a while since I've done one of these when I screw up the name of my own channel almost. So we're off to a great start here. So we've got some people in the chat. We do have Sugar Kitty is in the house, so we have to hit him with this. Unfortunately, Sugar Kitty, I don't think that's going anywhere. Again, blame Troy from Baker Drinks. We've got Peter White, Dave Renstrom. Who else do we have? Piper, John, Tater, Dom, Ryan Frank. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. So we have kind of I've been saying for a while here, I want to start getting some guests on the channel. Oh, look, On the Barrel Whiskey is in the chat. All right. Well, since they're in the chat, why don't we just go ahead and bring them on the show? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dustin and Kaylin from On the Barrel Whiskey.
Wow. The applause.
Oh my God, the music.
The applause and the music.
And the intro music. I feel like I'm a WWE star.
Yeah, absolutely. I've only had fireworks and explosions and some
some sparks.
Yeah, exactly. Need some pyrotechnics. That's I've been saying for the longest time. This channel needs pyrotechnics, and I suppose it's on me to get that going. So, welcome to the show. Thank you very, very much for doing it. It's nice to meet you too.
Thank you
for
having us,
man. Good to meet you too.
Yeah, this is awesome. Well, yeah, that's what's kind of fun about this. You know, I've been Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast just says exploding crotch. All right.
Exactly. Me too. I mean, it is Wednesday. It is hump day.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the dirtiest, totally clean comment I've ever seen.
Okay. I've been wanting to use that drop for a year now, and that's the first time I've ever had the reason to do it, actually. So,
that was perfect.
Anyway, so I've been wanting to do a thing where I start, bringing more channels onto my live streams. I don't know how familiar you are with my channel, but it used to be me and my friend Greg.
Yes.
And then Greg kind of retired from the whiskey review game, so now it's just me. And so I've been trying to come up with a little more of a plan.
Kaylin wants to retire, she just said.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I am gonna talk about your channel, and I do want to mention is sometimes some of my favorite videos of yours is when Kaylin comes in with the especially enthusiastic "I definitely want to be here" intro.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for her one of these times to just go this shit again.
Oh. Yeah.
I'm Kaylin.
Yep.
So
you can always count on her to be extra jazzed for every video.
Yep, I love it. But then, and then she's got ones where she's super excited. So yeah, I found that funny, because I think the very first couple of videos of yours that I saw were ones like that where Kaylin came in with the intro first. It was like, I'm Kaylin.
Yeah.
Just waiting for you to talk. And I was like, I'm going to watch her blinking pattern and see if she's doing Morse code for help me, or exactly. I don't know this man.
Yeah. I promise,
so when you
came, it's not because of me. Maybe. Actually, I don't know.
So when you came in with the "we can't escape the music," I was like, that's perfect. I love it. So for those in the chat that maybe don't know your channel, which, by the way, your channel is just blowing up. It's awesome. I mean, I love just watching, especially fellow Minnesota channel. I don't know why, but that just kind of makes it extra cool. I had been watching your videos for a while before I even realized you guys were from Minnesota.
Well, hey.
And then,
that's awesome.
Yeah, you mentioned it on one of the videos. It's like, oh, cool, because I knew, I kind of chatted back and forth with Rare Barrel. I'm sure you know those guys.
Do I know Rare Barrel?
I've heard of Rare Barrel.
Oh.
So they're another, Steve and Denise, they're another Minnesota channel.
That's awesome.
I feel like I've stumbled across.
Wow, I didn't know you liked whiskey so much in Minnesota.
Yeah, apparently.
Here we are.
And then I noticed that I didn't really see any. You guys don't do live streams?
No,
It's controversial.
no, not yet. Not yet.
Right now, we just do other people's live streams.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because
not
the
yet,
reason
yeah.
I ask is I was looking at anytime I'm looking at a new channel and I was kind of like thinking of guests to have on, if I haven't seen them do a live stream, I just go to their channel, then go to the live tab and see if they have any, because live streaming is different than just recording videos sometimes as far as like equipment and stuff like that. Sure. And so, you never know if people are actually set up for that. And then I saw you guys over on Whiskey Row one night.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh, well, they can live stream. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to get a hold of them.
Yeah, we're capable. We're live stream capable.
Yeah, live stream capable.
Don't tell anyone.
Well, I mean, there's probably realistically a good maybe 25 people that are going to hear about it from this one, so you're probably safe.
Maybe.
But, hopefully,
we don't do those yet. But that's a hope for the future.
Yeah, we will. We're in the middle of a move right now, as some people might know who have seen the last couple of our videos. But once we get settled again, we'll probably do something.
I did want to ask you about that. Yeah. So you guys, are you staying within Minnesota? Because you guys are in like St. Paul area. Did you say that night on?
Yeah, we're in South St. Paul
Whiskey
right
Row?
now. Yeah, and have been for the last 6 years, I think, at this point.
7. Coming up on 7 years.
But we are moving across the border.
Just barely. Just barely across.
Oh, God, are you going to Wisconsin?
Just barely.
Just.
We could still throw
Wow, this has been On the Barrel Whiskey. Thanks for joining us, guys.
I'll take this off.
No, we will always. We'll be bringing the Minnesota to Wisconsin. No, my parents live in Wisconsin, so we spend a lot of time over there. They live a little further into Wisconsin, but it was just an easier spot to find land. I'm going to be honest; it's hard to find that, and for a reasonable price here in Minnesota. So we started out searching for our next place to live on the eastern border of Minnesota. And we were like, well, let's just take a peek over, just over the border in Wisconsin. Maybe there's some stuff. And we found a really beautiful neighborhood and a really beautiful lot. So
yeah. I'm bringing my Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll continue to represent. And we'll still do pretty much 95% of our shopping and other activities in Minnesota because it's literally right there. It's like Hudson.
I was going to say, you guys moving to Hudson then?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't even
So not only... Yeah, I mean, it's like Minnesota's skin tag.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So you guys not only get the pleasure of... Let's get some background music going here, too, by the way. I usually like to have that going just for the...
Oh, yeah. It's a party.
Just for the hell of it. Yeah, it's hardcore party music. It's just the background music I use in my videos. But so not only do you guys get like the nightmare of moving, but you get the nightmare of moving all of those bottles, which I'm assuming is probably not even your full collection.
No, behind me, so I've already moved. I have like 2 auxiliary shelves over there that are almost moved. But yeah, I think there's still some 200 you counted.
I counted the other day because I was like, how many more boxes are we going to need just for this stuff? And there's still just over 200 that have to get.
So we'll figure
200 boxes?
Yeah.
No, just whiskeys. 200 whiskeys.
Okay.
200 bottles.
Boxes. Well, there might be 200 boxes of our other stuff.
It's a lot of bubble wrap.
Yeah.
Such a small house, we packed a lot in here somehow.
So are you guys going to go with the approach of like, when you're moving and you've got something valuable, like maybe it's a big screen TV or your children or something like that, where you're like, I'm driving this car. Like when you put the whiskey in the car, like one of your friends that's helping you move for pizza and beer is not driving that car. Like,
oh yeah, I will be behind the wheel of that vehicle.
Well, all right.
If anything, just so that I'm responsible.
Yeah.
If anything goes wrong, then it's not on her.
Yeah.
I don't want that responsibility.
That's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you can always buy more.
Well, so that does bring me in. So I do have a few things I want to ask you guys, because I think kind of the structure of like having guests on is just get to know the channel. Over the few years of doing this channel, I've become friends with a lot of other people that have channels and stuff like that, and that's been the most fun part. And then you kind of, kind of cross-pollinate with the viewers and stuff, and then your viewers get to know my channel, my viewers get to know your channel, and then it kind of just adds to this whole kind of, this level of community. I know that some of the bigger channels, some of the bigger channels kind of have their realm, and I kind of feel like, there's definitely, you watch other people's videos or you look at the comments and you see the same people that comment on my videos and that are in the chats, and that's kind of been the fun part about this.
I recognize the names.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, for sure. Have you guys, speaking of recognizing names, non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang is in a chat. Have you received samples from non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang?
I don't think so yet, but I don't think so yet.
Okay.
I
feel like you really, Dave, you're going to have to get on it. And by the way, everyone in the chat who doesn't know On the Barrel Whiskey, please go subscribe to their channel. It's a fantastic channel. You guys have such a great rapport with one another. I really think you guys would crush the live streams.
Some people think that we're brother and sister.
Yeah.
Which is not true.
No. We've known each other, though, and we dated in high school, which was some odd now 20 years ago almost. So
sure.
20 years ago for him.
Yeah. So we've known each other for a long time, which is probably why we, act like we've known each other.
And that
for
is
a long time.
That is our humor. If you believe in zodiac signs, we have the same birthday, so
yeah, it's ridiculous.
We're probably pretty similar.
You guys have the same exact birthday?
Yeah, just 1 year apart.
Yeah, just a year apart.
Really? So what's the date? Maybe it's the same as mine, and all three of us on the same live stream.
May 29th.
No, March 3rd.
Oh, close.
So yeah, I feel like one of the once non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang is a subscriber to your channel if he isn't already.
Why you call him that? Non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang.
So when we first, when Greg and I, when it was the two of us doing this channel, when we first started doing live streams and started kind of getting like the live comments and stuff, there's another guy from Minnesota named Brian Vaughn, and he at the time had like a mountain biking channel where he'd go to all these different state parks around Minnesota, mount a GoPro to his mountain bike, and then do the whole trail, kind of like review the trail and stuff. And then David commented one night, and it was just Vaughn Vogelsang. I just knew that it was a V last name. And so I had mentioned to everyone in the chat, I was like, oh yeah, Dave Vogelsang has a bike riding channel. Go check it out. And then Brian commented back and said, no, that's actually me, and this and that. And so I look like an idiot. And then so ever since then, it's been non-bike riding Dave Vogelsang. But he's
that would be a great prank if you weren't actually seriously thinking it had been him.
Yeah. No, so he's kind of, Dave is kind of the mayor of Whiskey Tube in a certain sense.
Yeah.
There was a channel I started watching, Straight Up Sips. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yes. So they were like 3 weeks into having their channel, and they're already reviewing samples from Dave. I'm like, what?
Well, what the heck, Dave?
So,
yeah. I'm going to try not to take offense from this, but that's really sweet.
Well, I'm sure you'll be getting a care package soon. So anyway, maybe one of the mods, Sugar Kitty, I see you there. You've got a wrench. Could you throw a link to On the Barrel up in the chat? And then maybe we can just periodically keep doing that, or we can maybe pin it to the chat. I'm so bad at doing this kind of stuff. I don't know exactly how to like pin chats and whatever.
Really bad at advertising.
Anyway, I'm so terrible at this. Like, I know how to do just like the basic stuff, and just nothing special. Well, it's amazing. And so one of the things I want to get to is, so I was flipping through your videos and watching some of your reviews and stuff, and I looked at the one review and I was like, oh, good Lord, this is just a regular review. It's got like 3,000 views. Which normally, because our channels are about the same size, but I think yours is going to be triple that in like 2 weeks. But
not ready for that.
Normally, like, a review gets, X amount of views, and like bourbon hunting stuff gets more views, and then, list videos get more views. But you guys like somehow managed to break the mold on that, because then I looked at some of the other stuff, and like all of your just regular bottle reviews are getting thousands of views, which is incredible.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there. I sort of went with, well, I sort of went with like what I enjoyed, especially when I first started watching videos on YouTube. Like I started, like the very first YouTube channel I ever watched was Ralphie, like back in the day, like in his first years, for Scotch reviews specifically. And then of course, the Whiskey Vault guys, and I really liked. At the time, I didn't know anything about whiskey at all, and so like I liked that there was just a single bottle that was like a variety of different types of whiskey, and that really just like brought me in. I don't know. I like trying to sort of make content that I also enjoy watching to some extent, and so I just
that's how I got into this. I enjoy lonely, self-loathing gingers. Yeah. So I was just like, I just want to... I'm not really lonely and self-loathing, but it sounded good for the joke.
No, it was great. No, but...
I do have a wonderful wife.
He really did. I don't know when you started doing... I'm sure you know when you started doing that, but there was like... So this is going to get a little bit of a glimpse into like our life, at least our life here. I think it'll change a little bit when we move into our next house. But we have this big couch that we got from Costco, of all places. And it's massive. And we live in a really small house that was built in the 1930s. So the living room is super small and quaint. So it pretty much fits that couch. And then there's a TV. And so... I'll be hanging out on the TV, like on the couch watching, my own programs or whatever on TV. And Dustin has a
you old person.
I was going to comment on it.
That's what she's watching her programs when she was yelling at us to get down. Anyway, and so Dustin, like, he doesn't really watch a lot of TV and movies like I do, and so, but he wanted to hang out and be in the same space. Well, and frankly, there's just not a lot of other spaces to be here. So he set up a monitor on the couch to be able to hang out there while I was watching TV and watch and do his own things. And he was just nonstop watching whiskey videos all the time. And I had no idea where this, like, hobby came from. I mean, I knew he liked collecting it, but I had no idea what kind of, like, situation there was out there on whiskey or on YouTube for whiskey until I peeked over at what he was watching. And I'm like, oh my God, there's, like, a million channels and such a cool community of people that are all loving the same, the same kinds of reviews and same kinds of content and things like that, but just everybody bringing their own flair to it, and it was really cute. You don't have like a ton of hobbies, but this is definitely the top.
Oh. Yeah, a couple, I guess. I think
a couple. Yeah.
My wife is very supportive, but I don't know if she would call my whiskey hobby cute. So
it is expensive. I would call it that.
Well, what isn't?
Yeah,
knitting.
that's true. Yeah. I mean,
knitting.
Are you into like crocheting and stuff?
I mean, I'm a seasonal knitter.
Okay, my wife kind of is too.
Yeah, I can't. I am definitely a millennial in that I can't just watch a program. I have to be doing. Now I said it again.
Well, you're certainly. Yeah.
I'm really embarrassing myself.
Aging
here.
yourself even more.
Like
out
I
of
can't
the
just
watching your stories.
Yeah.
I can't just watch something. I have to be doing something else at the same time. So knitting was just a nice activity where I could still pay attention to the general situation and also have something else to do. But that's one of the activities. But I have a lot of other hobbies too, like reading, and I actually like make cookies, like sugar cookies that are iced with like fancy stuff on them and stuff like that.
They're basically pieces of
nice.
Ridiculous.
It's exhausting.
She should probably open a business, but she doesn't
that
want
will
to.
not be happening.
Yeah.
No, I will
you
not
can do
be
that.
cookies.
You should make a channel. You can make a whole like baking and design channel and.
No.
Exactly.
I have a day job. Don't tell them I do all these things because they would start calculating how many hours are in a day. But yeah, so anyway, I had no idea, and he had been for the longest time wanting to do this. He'd been talking about it. He got the barrel was it like a year before you ever even put out your first video? Like quite a long time before that, with this sole intention of using it for a whiskey YouTube channel.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that was actually going to be my next question: is how did the channel, how and why did the channel start? And then, because I think I know, like at first it was just you, right, Dustin? And then, Kaylin, you kind of joined at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of started it both. Well, yeah, both because I was wanting to sort of have a catalog, like start to have like a tasting note inventory. What's the word I'm looking for? Like a video,
tome of tasting notes.
Yeah, I don't know, like something I could go back and like have a catalog of my collection and like my own tasting notes, just that I could like watch back if I want to remember what a whiskey was or something, or if somebody asks me. And well, that was the other reason, was like I constantly have, you know, either family or friends then asking me about different whiskeys, and so I was kind of like, why not make a channel and then start talking about them, and then everybody can just like get my take on all the whiskeys I have and different whiskeys if they want to, you know. So,
Sure.
So yeah, initially started, you know, just with me, and then Caitlin was like literally upstairs.
Well, you had
every
always
time.
talked about how you were like, I'd like to have you on as a guest sometime.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, sure, that'd be
Because she
fun.
always like has fun and interesting, weird tasting notes if we're ever just like drinking, you know, at home or wherever. Like, and she also has honestly a pretty nice palate, like when it comes to food and
Pervert.
like, yeah. but like no, she knows what she's like doing when she's tasting things. Like she's not a total idiot.
Stop it. People are actually going to report you. He really is.
She's not a total idiot.
No, I'm just kidding.
But she doesn't come across as a total idiot for what it's worth, Caitlin.
Oh, God,
so
no. She's the smartest
That's not what my
person I
mom
know.
said. My mom was like, you act really ditzy in your videos. And I was like, I don't know. If I do, it's not intentional, but I am trying to bring some fun to the serious part.
it's called playing to the camera, right?
Yeah. No,
Sure.
she's infinitely
Fine.
smarter than me. She's the best in the world. She has a master's degree, okay?
Calm down.
She has everything I've ever wanted.
Is she pointing a gun at you behind that barrel? What's
Yeah.
going on?
It's just
Yeah.
it's pointed at my hip.
So
So I was supposed to be a
That
guest.
kind of a-
That was the short of it. I was supposed to be a guest, and he would have other guests on. Maybe like there. I know there are other people in his family and some of his friends he'd love to like have on at some point. And so the idea was always just like much like this, like how you're having guests on, like. At some point, you know, just kind of have a rotating door of just other people and other palettes and other things just fly through. And then for whatever reason, it stuck, I guess. And so I stayed. You can still have a different guest on if you want to boot me at some point.
Oh, nobody's gonna watch that.
Somebody might watch that.
So
Can't go
I
back to just me.
I finally got my wife to agree to being on the show at some point after a number of drinks. She agreed to this.
Perfect.
So I don't
That same night,
It-
after a number of drinks.
yeah, that would have been probably the way to do it.
Yeah.
I think at that point I probably wasn't in condition to be going on the internet, you know, try to keep within the boundaries while I'm live online.
Yeah. Illegal.
It's bad enough when you make a fool of yourself, you know, with your friends out some night, but then, you know, to broadcast it live on the internet to potentially dozens of people, you know. But so at some point I would try to get her on here, but she doesn't drink whiskey, so she's never seen an episode of my show before, so she'll have to come on at some point. Every time I tell people that, they're like, oh my God, she doesn't watch your show. It's like that poor woman, the last thing she needs is to go on the internet to listen to me yap her ear off about whiskey. Like, she deals with that all the time in her normal everyday life, like more than anyone should, so... And it's not a you know, whiskey's not a thing of hers. But that kind of brings me into the next question. So which one of you, how did you guys each, did like one of you get into whiskey first and then the other one kind of learned about it through the other one, or were you both kind of into it? And what was your bottle that kind of started it for each one of you?
I had like more of a pathway, but I never got there. Like I was in the service industry and I bartended for, you know, I don't know, it was close to 10 years by the time I finally stopped. Some of it was serving, but most of it was bartending. I actually lived in New York for a really short time and did, you know, a bunch of cocktail bartending there. So I had a lot of exposure to various spirits, not just whiskey. But I would say by the end of it, I was done with it. And so I don't think I could have ever found my way to this path by myself, because I certainly didn't drink a ton of spirits after that. And I think it was his favorite liqueur before he got into whiskey was Midori. So I'm not sure how he got into it, but it was him. He's the one who started this.
Somehow went from
That's,
Midori to Scotch whiskey to all of
Yeah, that's quite a leap.
Midori to scotch.
I don't know what it was. I was like, I just couldn't stop drinking like Scooby snacks and stuff if I ever went to
Yeah.
like
Oh, I remember the
party or something.
Scooby snacks.
Oh
Yes.
jeez.
Oh, I suppose we could talk a lot of Minnesota-based shots with you, like grape.
Is that a
apes,
Minnesota shot?
Grape apes and water moccasins. I mean, I don't
Oh,
know if
yeah.
it's a Minnesota shot, but I definitely don't think in New York I ever made a Scooby snack.
Yeah.
Or-
Or brandy old
I
fashioned.
feel like water moccasin is a pretty popular one.
yeah.
For a while there was like the liquid Viagra do you remember when liquid ice was a thing, that it was an energy drink? Came in a little blue can. I don't know if that was maybe just out in my area.
I don't remember that. I do remember like Four Locos and stuff and the badness of that.
Balls.
Yeah, and balls. Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of Fireball. Just so much Fireball.
Yeah, I do remember those days. So was there a particular bottle was there a time when you were like drinking and you're like, holy shit, this is good, I'm into this?
I did mention on a previous live stream we did that the first bottle of whiskey I ever bought was a Johnny Walker Red Label, like 375 bottle after my 21st birthday. That was the first whiskey I've ever bought and like had myself. But I remember that actually before that, the first whiskey that I remember having and being like, oh, this is really good. I'm a musician, and at the time I was working on my first album, and this was like right after high school, I think, maybe. I can't remember. Or no, it was shortly after I turned 21. Anyways, there was a horn section that I was going to have in one of my songs, and so I met with the saxophone player who arranged everything. Long story short, he had a little bit of a whiskey collection at his place when we were going over. When we were arranging the music one night, and it was just a Glenn.
Always the
12.
horn player.
Yeah, always the horn, always the saxophone player.
Yeah.
And so he
Let me
had
pour a little bit of whiskey and play some saxophone for you.
Exactly. So, but I remember drinking Glenlivet 12 actually at his place, and that was the whiskey that I was like, oh, I really should try and get into Scotch because this is really delicious. And he was a bit of a nerd about it too. Like he definitely, as any whiskey connoisseur would do to somebody first trying whiskey, you'd probably want them to enjoy it more. So he was like recommending other stuff and blah blah blah. So he did not recommend Johnny Walker Red Label, but I bought that one anyways. I think just because of the name recognition, I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of Johnny Walker. Like it's supposed to be good, right? Like
This is the good stuff.
you know.
My first whiskey that I drank any amount of was probably Jameson, just plain Jameson. That was like my, you're at a bar and they ask if you want, like everybody wants a shot. That would be my shot. Is usually it's just Jameson, but
That was kind of, as far as shots go, that was definitely, because Jameson was like, it was smooth, back when you first get into
And it's
whiskey,
not
and when
real.
it's smooth is the most important thing.
right. And it's not rail and it's not, super expensive. And in the college days, that matters.
And
Yeah,
it's not
yeah, for
terribly
sure.
flavorful, which makes it, I
yeah,
think,
a little
easier to just.
It's a good
do a
mixer,
shot.
but it also, you could sip on it.
Sorry to any Irish watching. If I just said Jameson's not flavorful.
I kind of got started
I
out
think it's Jamison,
Yeah,
Jamison. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
allegedly.
I think they're playing tricks.
I kind
on
of,
us.
Yeah.
I think I had a similar path as you, Dustin. Like, so my first bottle that really got me into, like, the first time I ever just put whiskey on the rocks and sipped it and didn't take a shot of it, like it's so bad when you take shots of it. It's horrible.
Yeah, it really
And
is.
I just thought that's what whiskey is. It's this horrible thing that makes you feel like you're going to die for a couple minutes, but then you get nice and drunk and it's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
like black
Hatfield
coffee.
Barbecue.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't do black coffee either. But he
Well,
says
we
my
can
two
do that
favorite
now."
Minnesota whiskey tubers. Hello, folks.
Oh, thanks Hatfield Barbecue, and shout out to Richard Grimes. I saw your comment.
Yeah, what a kind
It's
man.
so sweet of you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm not keeping up with the chat all that well just because conversing, I'm usually better about, making sure I read all the chats, but talk amongst yourselves and,
Oh, we're yapping. today.
chime in, and we'll try to hop over and see what people are saying every once in a while. But yes, I like, aside from taking shots, I had a Maker's 46 on the rocks one night. I was like, I just want to like sip a whiskey because that seems cool, you know? Like,
Yeah.
And then I actually just sat there and sipped on it. I was like, oh my God, this is actually pretty good, you know? And then so when I get into something, I like, as soon as I enjoy something at all, I completely nerd out about it and just go down the rabbit hole. And so then same thing, started watching Ralphie and started watching Whiskey Vault. And at first I thought I was into Irish whiskey, and then I thought I was into Scotch. And then as soon as I got to bourbon, I was just like, done. I was like, I'm just a hardcore bourbon guy. But you guys do all kinds of stuff on your channel.
Yeah, we try to mix it up, and like, I guess that just comes from, like I started with like Scotch first, and I actually hadn't gotten into a lot of bourbon until like really the past like 3 or 4 years. Beyond like the I sort of went backwards a little bit, maybe than most people with bourbon, in that I started with smaller distilleries that were making bourbon, like Cedar Ridge was my first, like, not Kentucky, not Maine big brand bourbon that I ever had.
Sure.
And like just absolutely loved that. And that was probably now, I don't know, eight or so years ago. It was like shortly after I think they even sort of started making a bourbon. But
and then you got really into Keeper's Heart back here.
But yeah, and then Minnesota, I just fell, which is an Irish,
bottles.
American Irish bourbon.
I like their cask strength stuff from Keeper's Heart.
I do as well. I really like their. I don't know if you're into stout finish stuff. That's sort of a love-or-hate thing, but their Surly Darkness finished version of their Keeper's Heart is really tasty.
I do want to try that. I actually remember liking the stout finish Jameson when I first got into whiskey.
That was like one of my favorites too. We did a video on that. Well, I think it was a Mystery Monday for Kaylin.
It was a mystery and it was terrible, but I think since been,
it's solely due to that bottle being open for years and being very low. So that one, but it was still fun to watch Caitlin try and guess it.
This is a weird one. Have you ever had Damp Work? That's a Minnesota-based one.
No, I haven't.
They have like a really weird bottle. I don't know if you've ever. I don't know if this gets distributed.
Damp Work. That sounds like a weird service you would find on Craigslist. I'm looking for some damp work.
It's very German.
It's like, I don't know if you can. If I cover my eyes, you can see that.
I've seen that before.
Kind of cool.
Yeah.
They make a lot of other spirits too. Like they specialize
in fruit brandies and like liqueurs and stuff. And gin too. But we went. Kaylin took me on a tour there without me knowing. Well, I knew I was there.
The people were there to tour us. I didn't.
But no, it was. Their specialty is like fruit brandies and stuff, and they're really, really good.
Yeah.
And his son, it's a family-owned distillery, and his son this is I think batch 2 that they're on of their first single malt, American single malt. And it is young, so it's a younger single malt, and
they're from a different country.
Tasty,
where's the family from?
They're from Germany.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
Germany. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you already say that?
Yeah. Well, I said it's German. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, but they're great. Yeah.
I didn't know if you were referring to the people who make the whiskey are looking for damp work on Craigslist. You may find like German folk involved.
Yeah, be sure to add an F to the word when you search it. Otherwise, damp work might be a different result.
Yeah. It could be.
I would be interested in trying that. I'd like to try some of the Brother Justice stuff too. I haven't really had any of that. I don't explore too much as far as single malts go yet. I like them, but I'm always buying so much bourbon to do on the channel that it almost makes buying whiskey kind of difficult, because it's like, I want to spend $80 on this new single malt, but then it's $80 I can't spend, and I'm probably not going to get much content out of it. And as douchey and stupid as that sounds,
no,
I know like
I've even started to like myself, if I'm just wanting to like have a drink in the evening or on the weekend or something like that, I start to now get in my head about like, I'll save that for when we do an episode or something.
Yeah, for a video.
Reaction, like, instead of logging it away now, and but I'm trying to not be such a stickler.
I was hesitant to bust this bottle out tonight because this is the review that comes out tomorrow.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I don't need to talk about the bottle, I guess. It's Origin Series Bottled in Bond. Spoiler alert, it's good. The review's boring, but the whiskey's good.
Don't say that.
What kind of sell is that?
It was. You ever have one of those videos where you acknowledge as you're making it, like this is not going well?
That might be the one review someone is looking for, and you provide it to them.
It could be. It's fairly informative. It was one of those ones where I had to cut some of it out because I just felt like I was repeating myself a little too much. I wasn't prepared for it, and I needed to film stuff before the weekend to get it out for this, following week. And then I was just like, I don't know, for whatever, I just wasn't on my game.
We do that all the time.
So.
Towards the end of videos, usually when we're filming, we'll constantly do, it's almost like the Minnesota goodbye, where we'll constantly be like, so yeah, this was good, and then we'll start to say something else about it, like we'll get back into the tasting notes that we already talked about, 10 minutes ago, and then we do it again.
That is a benefit to the heavy editing this guy does.
Yeah,
we can cut out the stuff nobody wants to hear.
I hardcore Minnesota goodbye'd this bottle in the review. So I cut like 4 minutes out, and nothing I cut out was anything I hadn't already said. And I cut it all out in one chunk. Yeah. Like I didn't have to take like individual, like it was literally a good 4 minute basically repeat of everything I had already said about it. Yeah. So, I mean, the video's all right, but...
Troy says cheers. I'm guessing that's from Troy and Laura, but cheers.
Yep, Troy from Baker Drinks. We also have Stuart C. with the 5. Well, he sent a super chat. It appears to be in Turkish lira or something. What is Kaylin's most unusual tasting note that she's come up with? My personal fave is wet paper from a recycled paper plant on the Canadian stuff.
Did I say that, or is that his personal fave? If I said that, I didn't remember it. There's been a lot of wet paper. I think one of my first ones was probably Daycare apple juice, and I stand by it because it definitely tasted like it.
Daycare apple juice.
I mean, just like that low level, like
on an Octomore.
Poor man's brand, like daycare apple juice. Like daycare, just meaning like generically what you would get served at a daycare in mass.
I didn't even know
the cheap stuff.
Yeah, the kind that kids like.
Like the kind that came in a little plastic cup.
They would pour it into like those little red plastic cups, like cafeteria cups.
I thought you meant the ones that you like tear the tin off of the top, and it's apple juice in like a little cup.
I know you thought that, but that's not what I meant. That's like school. That's like school age where you get it. No, this was at daycare.
Oh, I was thinking daycare was like school.
Which is apparently like a core memory for you, because now you're tasting it in your whiskey. It's like everywhere I look, this daycare apple juice.
The trauma has followed her. Yes.
I think one of the more like negative ones was probably like somewhat recently. There was one where it literally tasted like I don't know if you can hear a dog crying. So
sure, bring the dog in.
No, she's like weeping in the other room. It's pretty pathetic. Anyway, the other one I think was probably like some musty towel that's like sat for too long after being wet, and then you were forced to like put it in your mouth. That's one from recent memory, but
forced to put a musty towel in your mouth.
Yeah,
that's an interesting scenario. I do get what you're saying with like the musty smell, like mildewy kind of.
Yeah.
Like I get that a lot on Texas whiskeys. That's why I don't. If you're an old school watcher of this channel, you know that we have incessantly just trashed Texas whiskey, and that now I've come across a few that I actually like. So it's like I can't really keep going with the joke. Yeah, I found like 2 that were actually really good, and then so now it's kind of ruined my perfect streak. Rebecca Creek is a really good one. That was like a Spanish oak finish one. That was amazing. Those don't exist anymore, though. That was like a limited run. Like the brand still exists. And then like the Still Austin Cask Strength was pretty good. And I've had a couple of picks, a 21090 pick and then a Nancy Fraley blend. And those were really good. So I have a little animosity towards those brands for ruining my hatred of Texas whiskey.
Did you double check where they for sure made there? Just kidding.
Well, actually, the one was MGP aged in Texas, so that there's kind of an out on that one. But I think the Still Austin is true to the game Texas whiskey. Real quick before I forget, let me. Where the hell is it? I'm starting to lose track of bottles and where they are.
It's a great product.
I am doing my. Yeah, it is, right? I am doing my second of the month Patreon sample giveaway tonight. So I do have some bottles. I think what I'll do, usually it's like a 3 or 4 pack. I got this Maker's Mark Lost Recipe series. You guys had this one.
Yeah, we saw you did a review on that recently too.
Yeah, so I've got that one, and then I did find a bottle of the Wild Turkey 70th anniversary, the Jimmy Russell
one. I haven't had
one.
that one yet, but I've heard great things so far.
Yeah,
for the price.
I haven't opened it yet. Yeah, I paid $60 for this. So in the sample pack, it'll be 2-ounce sample of this, 2-ounce sample of this, and then I don't know. We'll find something else fun to throw in there. So anyway, Stuart C. for the $5 super chat, you're also added to the drawing. Anybody who throws in $5 super chat gets you an entry onto the wheel. Or if you're a subscriber at any level, it gets you entries on the wheel per whatever level of subscriber you are. And that's for every drawing I do every month as long as you're subscribed. So check out the Patreon. That's my pitch. Enough of me being a little hooer over here for my Patreon channel.
No, that's awesome. What a great
So
idea.
at the end of the video here, we'll do a giveaway, and I'll figure out another whiskey. I can maybe put this in here, not that it's rare or expensive, but maybe somebody wants to just try before you buy. Have you guys had this Jim Beam Winter Reserve yet?
No, actually, your video on that has pushed me to want to go. I almost went to Total Wine today, actually, to grab a bottle of that, because it sounds amazing, especially for this time of year.
I mean, amazing is maybe giving it a little more credit than it needs, but it's good for what it is. That's my thing.
Like for like a mixer, like into like a hot toddy or like a old fashioned or something.
Hot
like that.
toddy's nice
Spiced
because it's just water and lemon and cinnamon. Like that's kind of nice because then you don't lose all of the whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, it's still 86 proof.
Sure.
So as far as like holding up to a cocktail, ice melt and stuff like that, if you got a good clear ice ball that's not going to melt so fast, I think the flavors in it would definitely complement an old fashioned really well. But again, and in a hot toddy, this would probably be good. So you know what? I'll throw in a sample of this too. Again, not that it's like rare or anything, but then bottles like this is what I love getting samples of because it's something I can go out and buy. Yeah. Like, I love getting a good sample of something that's super rare because then I get to try it, but then it's like, okay, I can't go out and buy it now. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes it's nice to get samples of something that you can actually go out and buy if you like it. So 3-pack 2-ounce samples of this we'll give away at the end here. So do you guys do... Like as far as like the bourbon hunting and stuff like that I've heard of you guys each kind of mentioning picking up a bottle here and there. So do you kind of go bourbon hunting on your own or do you?
If you count every time we go to Costco for groceries, he has to go into the liquor store.
You always got to swing in
I
there.
guess that's
100%.
I mean, you have.
That's a half hunt at least.
Yeah.
Yep.
Half hunt.
It's a check-in.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't have. I try to like mainly keep an eye on just like social media of different stores and stuff, and if something's posted that sounds interesting,
and you
I'll
have like some membership at some, or you enter raffles for some. You do some at some that where you get notified of like some of those bottles, and then I think like there's a local spot just down the road from us that we'll throw on Facebook sometimes, but sometimes by the time they throw it on, they're already out. But there's some cool ones that show up there, and then I think Midwinter Night's Dram is like the last time that we were like on the phone like looking for
Trying
it.
to
That
find
was
a bottle.
Act 9.
Like 2.
That we were actually last like truly hunting.
But I haven't done like, I haven't gone out for the sole purpose of like store hopping and just like doing that. Like part of me wants to do that, but I also feel like nervous for some reason about like if I go into a store and it's a smaller shop or something and like I don't buy anything. Like if I don't see anything I want to buy and then I don't buy anything, I just feel bad almost. I probably shouldn't, but I was
going to ask about that.
A smaller quiet store or something, and the owner says like, "Hey, how's it going?" But I don't really see anything I want.
Looking for something specific.
I know, but what if I'm not?
Kaylin, I'm with you.
He's so passive.
I know.
If you do Enneagrams, he's an Enneagram 9. He's a peacemaker, and he has to like make everyone feel comfortable.
So you're a lifelong Minnesotan then? Is that what I'm getting here? You're lifelong Minnesotan?
We both are. But
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep, it's in my blood. I can't help it.
I was actually going to ask about that because kind of liquor store etiquette policy comes up a lot. We do a show called the Whiskey Six. It's actually it's a separate channel, but it's me, it's Bourbon Drop, Bad Axe Bourbon, Bourbon School, and then Sean from Whiskey Wars / Mash and Metal, if you know any of those channels.
Yeah.
We do a once a month. It's the 5 of us, and then it's always like a guest channel. So be looking out for that invite at some point.
What do they want?
And we always, well, we always have a guest channel, and we talk about stuff like we always have like a whiskey related topic, and then we get into some other stuff that's not whiskey related.
Okay.
Like last week's was, what's your favorite conspiracy theory? We don't get into like politics or anything like that, So we keep it clean in that sense.
UFOs, things like that.
Yeah, stuff like that.
The moon.
I'm with you. The moon is not real for sure. I mean, if there's one thing I've learned from the internet, it's
just
that the moon is not real. Yeah, it's a hollowed out spaceship. Everybody knows that.
Certainly, yeah.
But I was we talked about this over the last few episodes. We've done a couple of whiskey topics that were kind of like liquor store etiquette. Like last week was like, why do people get mad when liquor stores charge secondary prices? It's their right, it's their store, and this, and that. And one of the things that comes up is like this notion that you have to buy something every time you go in the liquor store.
Yeah.
And I think it stems from like people walk in, got any Blantons? No, okay, then they turn around and walk out, and that's seen as rude or something. But like, what if it isn't an allocated whiskey you're looking for? What if you walk in and you want to get peppermint schnapps for a cocktail you're making? They don't have it. Now I have to buy something else just to...
Yeah.
Yep.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Schnapps
Like,
is our family's shot of choice, by the way.
Oh, nice.
It is a good shot.
Well, freezer peppermint schnapps, like iced.
Yeah, ice cold peppermint
You
schnapps.
definitely have to do that
Holiday
cold.
shot. Yeah.
He usually walks into liquor stores and just searches. Like, he doesn't usually go right up to the person and ask for
I usually
something.
don't go in even with much of a, like, there are some bottles that I'll try and, like, during times of the year that I'll want to try and find, but I usually kind of just go into a place just, like, hoping that there's something interesting sitting on the shelf, And those are the places, though, where like, I'm not looking for anything in particular. I walk in, I don't see anything in particular that I want, and then, like, I just feel bad just being like, thanks. I don't know why. They didn't do anything for me, really, like, other than have the door open, I don't know.
Just tell them you're looking for something they don't have, but something that's not allocated.
What's funny and what I always I feel like I remind you of is like, what's the worst that happens? You tell them that you were looking for something they didn't have. Are they going to like beat you on your way out the door? Like, they're gonna not let you in again.
Yeah,
he's gonna feel terrible and rude because he's a Minnesotan. Yeah. I totally understand that. We're damaged people just from living in this state, But like on the flip side, though. On the flip side, if a liquor store owner does have all this allocated stuff in the back, it's perfectly acceptable for them to just not sell you something they know they have just because you don't spend enough money there. Like, that's even more rude, to be honest. Yeah. Aiden says most places care more if you're nice. That's what I've found. Yeah, more places just, they'll sit and chat with you. They don't care if you don't buy something. They're not going to get upset or whatever.
I had one place, I was looking for something, and they didn't have it, but the distributor was there, and that's who I was talking with. And he pointed me out a couple, because I was trying to get him a gift. And he pointed out some other unique stuff that is a little more allocated that he literally just brought into the store at that time. And he might not have gone out of his way to do that if I hadn't, had a conversation with him. So I agree. Like, being nice is definitely good, but I also don't feel like it's wrong to walk out of a place of business without an item.
Yeah. But exactly. Like if I go to Walmart looking for something, I don't feel I need to buy something else.
Yeah, nobody's going to tackle you on your way out the door.
It's the same logic. You're right.
But I do feel like more places, like the places that you tend to hit most frequently, if they don't tend to jack up the price of the item you're there for, the allocated item. They're usually like, can you just purchase a different bottle of ours, something non-allocated in addition? And we found some of our coolest and yummiest things from like the random bottles you've purchased so you can purchase a different one. Like,
Yeah,
it's been
as long as we talked about this last week actually, if they're doing like the bundle thing, like, here's a bottle of Blanton's, but then, you got to buy one of our store picks too. As long as the combination price is right for both of those, then at least you're overpaying, I guess, for the bottle you want, but you're getting something useful for it,
Yeah, you're not getting, air for that extra dollar.
Exactly.
I do find
that's one thing
really
I just don't do.
I do find it's really good to be nice to bartenders at the bar. Like if you're sitting up at a bar, especially a nicer bar that has some interesting and more curated items behind their bar. Like we went to Casanova Liquors and Nova Bar, which is attached to it in Hudson, and it was like our anniversary or something like that.
Yeah.
And we got to talking with the bartender about that fact and the fact that we drink quite a bit of whiskey and that we're always on the hunt for certain things or whatever. And he started bringing out things that they don't even sell, like stuff that, I probably shouldn't advertise that, but,
No, but you just never know.
Just interesting
especially
stuff or some things that they were choosing between some store picks and they hadn't picked yet, but he gave us, samples of both kinds that they were picking between. Just some fun experiences that you don't get if you're not maybe a little more like outgoing, but also nice to the people that are serving you. So
just be nice to people,
just be nice.
Be nice to people who don't buy anything.
That's
Minnesota
the key.
nice and passive.
Yes, passive-aggressive Minnesota nice. I've kind of found that, like, I'll go into liquor stores and just sit and have, like, a 20-minute conversation, because once you start, you're looking for a bourbon, they see in the bourbon aisle, they ask, well, what are you into? And you kind of start chatting and this, and that. And next thing you know, the guy who works there is also into bourbon, and then you sit there for 20 minutes and chat, and usually I'll try to buy something, but like those guys don't care if you don't, because they understand, like, maybe you are looking for that one specific thing, and maybe it's not an allocated thing, maybe it's just a brand I don't happen to carry. Like I'm going to be doing, when I review this one, I'm going to do a video comparing this to Wild Turkey 101, so I need to get a bottle of Wild Turkey 101. I was literally in a store the other day that didn't have Wild Turkey 101 for whatever reason, they were just sold out of it. So I'm not going to buy another bottle. I'm just going to go to another store and get my 101. Because then I'm picturing, like, what if there's a run on Wild Turkey 101 and I go to, like, 5 different stores and I got to buy 5 different bottles just so I don't hurt the guy's feelings.
That's true.
That's working at the liquor store. And then all of a sudden I end up with all this extra whiskey that I don't need.
Yeah.
God forbid.
And we're broke.
Yeah, exactly.
The one place I will say that is not enjoyable to go in is Total Wine. Like, they have a lot of stuff, and I do like to get...
There goes that sponsorship.
I'm sorry, but that is one place that... It's not every Total Wine, and it's not every time, but there is a particular Total Wine and a particular enthusiastic salesman that always seems to find Dustin. He doesn't ever remember who Dustin is. Like, the other storekeepers seem to, because they know that they don't need to ask him the same questions. They don't need to, like, go up and be like... trying to sell him the Total Wine
Lazy River
items.
Sure. Yep.
And things like that. But this guy just never remembers. And so I don't go in. Like, I almost never go in anymore.
They're just doing their job.
They are. But I would say, we were just talking about that, though. Is like, I feel like smaller liquor stores are more enjoyable to go into because they're just less likely to follow you around their store.
I like Total Wine for specific things. You know what I mean? Like, Total Wine's great for, like, the regular brands. Like, if you want to get a great price on, like, an Old Forester product or something, like a regular line, then Total Wine's great for that. But the amount of times I go into there and, like, there's somebody, like, talking to one of the salespeople, and some of the people at Total Wine know exactly what they're doing. But I do find that there's a lot of them that are just working the bourbon aisle that day. And, they're like, my brother is super into whiskey, so I want to get him something nice, but I don't know anything about whiskey. And they always recommend, like, Lazy River. For whatever reason, Lazy River is the one. Have you ever had it before?
I've never had it before, but I see Troy mention Chestnut Farms. That's another one as well. That
they love to hand that one out.
Yeah. And Chestnut Farms is good. It's just not $150 good. It's like $50 good.
Yeah, they're always super nice. I don't want to downplay that, but it is one place that I just don't go into anymore unless I need something very specific. He's going in there. They have a great selection of pumpkin beers when it's fall time. I will go in for that.
That's good. There's been times when, like, we're I'm in the bourbon aisle and my poor wife is there waiting for me to sit here and be indecisive to ultimately buy, like an Old Forester 100.
Yep.
But but it takes me a half hour to make that decision. And so I'm like standing there, and then there'll be like the clerk who is having this conversation with a customer. It's like, I'm looking for a gift for my son for his birthday. I know he likes bourbon. And, here, Lazy River. It's really smooth, and it's this, and that. Yeah. And I can feel my wife just looking at me, waiting for, like, I'm just over there just, like, shaking a little bit.
Yeah. But hey,
and then it's
that's why I feel like Whiskey Tube exists, right? For people to get a different recommendation than there maybe.
Somebody in the chat said the Ron Swanson scene from Parks and Rec when he says,
"Yes,
at Home Depot,
I know more than you."
That is so right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Dustin knows more than them, but it is just still
Probably
funny.
not.
I've had the internal conversation with myself, like, once that guy leaves, do I approach this woman and now give her a proper recommendation for whiskey? Because she's going to bring this shit bottle of whiskey back to her poor son for Christmas, and he's going to feel bad because it tastes terrible.
Yeah.
Aiden says part of the issue is that a lot of people get hired for liking whiskey, and by liking whiskey, they mean Basil Hayden, and those guys don't understand much about past, which is probably true, and there's nothing wrong with liking, Basil Hayden. Bobby's in the chat.
Whoa, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, if you like a good 80 proof whiskey, but I think, when somebody's coming in and say, my son's a bourbon lover and what should I get? And every time, I swear to God, every time I hear them recommending Lazy River, and it's the worst whiskey they have. It's just terrible.
Funny. Now I'm going to wait. Now I'm going to listen for that. I am going to come with you sometime.
Great.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm going to reverse it on them and be like, have you ever had Lazy River?
Oh, trust me, the rack of Lazy River has the person's, this is Bill's favorite whiskey, the tag that they have there, and it's always one of theirs. It's never, Bill never likes, Old Forester Prohibition style like everybody else.
A tag in there that says this is Kaylin's favorite whiskey, and it's just a picture of her in front of the Lazy River.
That would be great.
God. That's a great idea. Actually, just start printing off your own tags with like a little QR code for the channel. Yeah.
Possibly illegal.
No, because then they can find us. They can find us if you do that. You gotta have it be random. That's funny.
That's hilarious. There was I heard a story about a band one time. A friend of mine told me about this. That it was like some like up and coming band. I think they were in like Michigan or something like that. Nobody that around here or anything. But what they used to do is they'd take their own CDs and they'd just go place them on the record store shelves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just to have them in there, and then if somebody went to go buy it and it didn't ring up, at least the person would know that this album exists, and it would maybe intrigue them, and they'd try to find information in the band. And apparently they called it drop lifting, where it's like I don't know, it's like a take on shoplifting, but they would drop their own CDs.
Idea.
Wow. You just can't
Bobby's asking if I'm.
these days.
No, you can't. Bobby's asking if I'm talking about junk food yet. No, it has not. When Greg and I used to do this together, we'd always end up like devolving into talking about junk food eventually.
I mean, right before
I don't know how that happened.
Wheat Thins on the barrel.
Wow. The junkiest of junk food.
I poured my little tipple of whiskey, and I was like, I should probably eat something. I grabbed.
Did you just say your little tickle of whiskey?
Tipple.
Oh, tipple.
Yeah, tickle.
Okay, gotcha.
That's a new measurement.
A tipple. Okay.
A tickle.
I like that. And here, Aiden says another issue is that Total Wine has some good-ass whiskey, but they talk about Chestnut Farms and Wolcott. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now we really got to get a Chestnut Farms.
Have you hit the like button?
Anywhere else, or is it a Total Wine brand?
I think
it's one of
the
Spirits Direct thing,
but I don't know.
You can actually buy those Spirits Direct products at other stores.
Oh,
it's just that most other stores choose not to carry them. So, like the McFarland's Reserve 13 year, it's I think it's like a port finished.
Oh yeah,
port or Cabernet finished 13 year. It's actually really good. But it costs $100 at Total Wine. I go to Spirits Liquor up in Melrose and they sell it for $50, and that's with their standard markup. Their standard markup brings that bottle to $50. So while they sell the regular brands for super cheap, they make a lot of overhead on like the Chestnut Farms and the, stuff like that.
Yeah, just like, I mean, maybe I wouldn't be such a downer about it, and I think of them as more credible if like every time they didn't immediately suggest one of their Spirits Direct like Total Wine brands. Like if just one time they suggested something that was they didn't have like a stake in the game for it, but I feel like every time they do.
Yep. I've complained about that on this channel a number of times. It's like, every time you go in there, it's always one of those. And it's like, there's a couple of them that are good, a couple of the higher end ones, but then I think that their higher end ones tend to be the ones that they price way higher than a standard markup because most other places don't sell them.
Yeah. That is disappointing.
So, I don't know. Total Wine has its value for very certain things.
Yep.
So before we get out of here, there's two questions I definitely want to ask every single channel that I have on here. And I'm not rigid on the 7 o'clock thing. Just, give or take, I usually go about so.
He shuts down the video.
Hard cut.
It's just immediately, it cuts away, and then it just, plays the national anthem with the flag, like when the channel would go off the air back in the day.
Yeah.
Big D Energy, that Wild Turkey 70th is awesome. I like it better than Kentucky Spirit and Rare Breed. Wow. Okay. Well, then I'm looking forward to getting into this. So speaking of which, guys, Patreon subscribers are going to be in the running for a sample pack of all three of these. This, I love this Lost Recipe Series bottle.
Yeah,
I thought this was
really
great.
Good.
That was tasty. Well, actually, no, I don't need to get into it. Go ahead.
Oh, if you like the mocha staves, the discontinued mocha staves, Haskell's did a pick one time, and they did all 10 staves, the mocha stave. Have you tried that one?
No,
cool.
I haven't had that one. I was gonna say I had one from, I don't even now remember where I got that Minnesota mocha. Oh, it's MGM.
Every time we
Liquors,
pass
I think.
or go close to a Haskell's, though, he wants to stop. So that makes sense.
You never know, man. You just swing.
Yeah, Haskell's is great. I love Haskell's.
Yeah.
But they did the 10 French roasted mocha, and then Maker's Mark discontinued that, and now the new wood finishing series, the first one was all 10 of one stave. So I wonder if their whole wood finishing series is just going to be all 10 of each of their new staves, which would mean now that 10 mocha stave one, because once you do a pick of Maker's Mark, you pick a stave profile, no one else can ever do that profile again. So Haskell's might have exclusive access to the one discontinued. Yeah, and they can get that pick whenever they want now.
Oh,
and so they might be sitting on a gold mine depending on what Maker's Mark does with their wood finishing series for the year. So that'll be interesting. But let me get into these. Okay, so I got a couple questions for you guys. These are just questions that I ask because this is two hills I will absolutely die on.
Awesome.
And I won't tell you my opinion on them.
Starting the debate right at the end.
Yes, exactly. Do you think, and you may not have any experience with this or notice of it, I'll tell you my opinion on this one because it kind of pertains. I think whiskey tastes vastly different when you drink it outside. Like if you have a pour inside, to go outside with that same pour on a summer afternoon, for some reason it tastes completely different to me.
Wow. You have to be right to some extent. And I think you are.
Well, this has been On the Barrel Whiskey. Thank you very much. That's all we need to hear. This is
that makes sense.
Just cuts off. That's it.
I agree.
Just cuts off right there.
I think that about cocktails and like other things too. I think your environment in general is so matters.
Well, I bet it has to do. I mean, it has to just scientifically, I think, have something to do with the scents you're getting through your nose from around your environment.
That's what I think it is.
Taste buds. Because I've been, especially if you're out by like a fire, if I have a whiskey out by a fire, it usually tastes way different. Like especially if you're sitting next to a campfire, than if you the next day if you go back and try it. Like, I think you know what, you're onto something here, Ben. I like it. I like that take. I'm in.
Thank you.
I'll sign the petition.
Well, wait. You didn't
I
say
should get
how
a petition going.
You feel that way about it, that it does taste different outdoors?
Oh yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
I won't.
I don't know if that was your take or not.
I had to change around some stuff in the bar last summer, and so I have a bar out in the garage too. It's in Minnesota, you have an inside bar and outside bar.
Sure.
And I wasn't doing anything with that third stall in the garage, so I turned it into a bar.
Absolutely. Who is?
And
isn't that where you keep
right.
your snowblower and your snowmobile and your 10 shovels in case your first 9 shovels break?
Well, I get the shovels and the snowblower, but the bar's in the back, so it doesn't interfere too much.
Perfect.
So we were doing reviews out there for a couple of months, and before I would even review it, I would drink it inside first. Not on camera, but then I would come outside and we'd film the review out there. But it just tastes completely different. Steven Scone from Shelf Sipper says he does his channel outside for a reason. So he likes it better outside, apparently.
Oh.
But I noticed it gets it's almost like a humidity thing or something. Like nosing whiskey is much different outside, too.
Yeah.
So,
I think you're right.
All right. Here's the next question. I won't give you my answer on this one so as not to sway anyone's opinion. The neck pour. Fact, fiction,
Somebody in the chat mentioned.
grossly exaggerated? What do you think?
After the number of whiskeys we put on this channel, where I literally opened it right before the episode, clearly we're not opposed to doing it, regardless of our opinion. I'm just gonna put that out there before you say whatever you're gonna say.
I think I'll say that like. For sure, I have had experiences with whiskeys that have changed when I've gone back to them after opening them, like, even a few weeks later, a couple weeks later. And like, in fact, one great example of that is actually Booker's, one of the book. It was the fourth Booker's of 2022, I think, or 2023, I can't remember. But that was my first Booker's. It was the one you bought, actually. The one you mentioned you were looking for a gift and you bought for me.
Oh.
But that one I didn't like right away at all. Like the first drink I had of it was really hot. It was just I didn't really think there was much there. And then I think honestly I didn't have it for like 6 months, and I went back to it and like really liked it then. And so
Was that the very next time you?
That was the That was the next time I had it. Was 6 months later. Yeah.
So here's my question: would you attribute the change in it to the neck pour, or just to maybe not remembering exactly what it was you didn't like about it, or what your palate was that day?
There's too many variables now. I don't know.
My opinion
here's another
is
question on top of that though.
Okay.
Is like he will go around randomly sometimes and just like turn his bottles upside down. So
keep the
so
cork
now
wet.
is the pour in the neck the same pour that it would have been if you? I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
know.
now the ass pour becomes the neck pour.
Right.
Sure.
When are
The
you gonna
neck
get
pour
to
becomes
that?
the ass pour. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So my take has always been that like there's too many like whiskey and everybody who watches this show regularly is just rolling their eyes right now. Because I've said this so many times. Because we've had heated debates on this channel of the neck pour. And I think it's just atrociously nonsensical to believe that whiskey that was aged in a barrel that had air in it, and then it was dumped into open air, and then sat in a vat in open air, and then bottled, and then you pour this much out of it, and that much air getting into it changes the whole profile of the whiskey. But only for that one pour, by the way. They never say it changes every time you add this much more air to it.
Yeah.
And so, I'm always just of the opinion, I get that maybe it tastes different the next time you have it. There's probably 15 other things that might be responsible for that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that a whiskey definitely does. At least with scotches, I've noticed especially. But if I pour a scotch and I let it sit for 30 minutes just in the glass, and then I go back to it, I do notice difference there. Even in just that amount of time, and it's sitting in a glass poured. But
I don't feel like we're superstitious about it though.
No,
There's no.
I really don't
we do
care.
Not,
even if it was.
Stop ourselves from drinking.
But also, yeah, you're right.
that,
How would
think
you?
it's
That's such a hard thing to even measure on a scientific
It's actually
level,
not.
because there's.
We've done it. We've got two. We took two identical single barrels, and neck poured one, and then did a fresh crack of the other, and then put them next to each other. And then we took two other identical single barrels, one that had been sitting with this much whiskey in it for months, and one that was brand new, freshly opened. No difference. When you put them right next to each other, it's negligible at best, the difference.
Right.
That's what I've found, though. But I do love arguing with people about this. I got to have, I don't know if Brian from Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast is still in the chat, but he is a hardcore neck pour booster. So I got to have him on some nights so we can just, he's all about the neck pour.
The neck? I'm confused on the two standards.
Well, he's a hardcore
they
believer.
Gotcha.
Well, everybody universally, by the way, thinks the neck pour is worse. That's the other thing. Nobody ever says the neck pour is better. It always opens up after you get rid of the neck pour. To the point that I've literally had people say that they dump the first pour out and don't drink it. Yes, I have heard people say this.
That's abuse.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
I agree. 100%. You heard it right here. Listen to Kaylin. That is abuse.
Yeah.
And just wasteful.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
everything has a purpose. I mean, even the end of the bottle. You're not just like, what are you going to get to the end of the bottle and be like, it's sat too long, it's bad, it's got to be bad.
Yeah.
Look at this stout finish, it is bad.
Let me remind
my thing is, when we did this experiment video a long time ago and came to the conclusion that it just doesn't change. We did a Buffalo Trace that had been sitting for like over a year with this much left in it, and then open another one from the same case, from the same batch, and yeah, there's nothing. There's just next to nothing.
Stuart,
so basically what we came to is like...
neck pours.
Drink neck. There you go. I like Stuart C's, like the cut of his jib here.
Yeah.
I think the only way
but we just kind of look at it like...
I was going to say, the only way to settle it is to just have a fully funded scientific study with published peer-reviewed papers. We need
Double blind.
We need a team of people whose sole job for like the next year or 2 or 3 is to just taste whiskeys next to each other that are neck pours.
I will be that team of people.
And yeah. So exactly.
Yes, you nominate yourself.
In order to fund this, go check out my Patreon.
There you go.
I'd like to.
And go check out their Patreon too, as well. Go check out On the Barrel. So before we get out of here, I am going to do the drawing here. Mods, could we throw some links in the chat for On the Barrel whiskey, and then also all the channels that have been in here? I'm sorry again, I haven't been paying too much attention to the chat just because we're having the conversation here. But Shelf Sippers is in here. I know Baker Drinks, Bad Axe Bourbon, 4 Leaf Whiskey. Stacy was in here. Who else was in here? Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast. So if we could throw some links in the chat, that would be awesome. So getting into the drawing, a 2-ounce pour of the Wild Turkey 70th anniversary release, the Jim Beam Winter Reserve, which again I know is not expensive or rare, but a little try before you buy. And then somebody asked if this is a Costco exclusive. I think it might be, from what I hear.
Which
This is the Lost Recipe one.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that at Total Wine as well, but I didn't buy it. Like the first time.
Total Wine.
But maybe it was it was just a private pick actually. Now because I only
the
saw
private picks are starting to do this label.
Yeah.
So they're starting to lean into this. So yeah, a 2-ounce pour of that as well. So let's. Okay, I'm so bad at doing this. Share your screen.
You're talking to 2 people who have never done it, so I can't help you.
Yeah, this is just. Why can't I? Microsoft Edge. Okay, there we go. Good Lord. Okay, can we see that in the... There we go. Okay. So I got to navigate away here for a second. Stuart C is also in here. I spelt his name wrong, but that's okay. I'm going to shuffle these up a little bit. I think we need like a drum roll or something. It's the jankiest drum roll. There we go. I like your drum roll better. Okay, here we go. Spin it to win it, folks. We have Dennis Weedman again. He won like a month ago or 2 months ago.
Boom.
All right, Dennis Weedman, longtime Patreon subscriber, coming slamming home with the winner here.
Steven
How do I get
Scone
rid of
has
this?
generously offered to take everyone's neck pours. So
I was actually thinking at some point I'm going to send Brian. I'm going to send Brian just like a bunch of neck pours.
is that bicycle?
I'm going to send him like a. No, that's Brian Vaughn is the he is the bicycle guy though. Good memory. No, Brian from Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast, who is all about the neck pour. I actually was thinking, I hope he's still listening. Brian, I'm going to send you like 1 neck pour and then like 5 ass pours of the same whiskey, And then you gotta, if you can't tell me which one is the neck pour, this will be settled science.
I think you should film yourself trying to extract those particular samples.
I actually I did a video. Oh God, the other thing I wanted to get into, and maybe we'll save this for next time, is like just the adventure of having a channel and like I don't get a lot of negative comments, but every once in a while there's the random negative comments or just like a weird like, I would love to sit and chat. That's actually one of the things I meant to bring up and totally forgot to, is like what you guys' experience with that has been. Because I did a video one time where I said it was like, it wasn't that long ago, it was like a bourbon science experiment, say goodbye to the neck pour forever or something like that, bourbon hack. And basically I just took a freshly opened bottle of bourbon, I just poured it into a mixing jar or whatever, and then I just mixed it up and then poured it back in. I poured the neck pour out first, and then I dumped that out, then I poured the neck pour in the bottle, poured the rest back in, making the neck pour become the ass pour, then the ass pour become the neck pour. And just because this is an ongoing thing on this channel, and somebody in the comments like took me super seriously, like, this is just embarrassing. These channels are clearly running out of ideas. It's like, dude, I was just having fun with my audience. It's okay. You can just go watch something else.
Some do come in, some come out of nowhere, but that is a topic all of its own.
Yeah. So we'll... Yeah, 99.99%. I mean, in the 3.5 years I've been doing this, I could fit on probably both hands the amount of negative comments. So on the plus side, it's almost exclusively just people giving advice or opinions or, something like that. So anyway, well, time to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for doing this. This was awesome hanging out with you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I like the idea of building up the, even though you're going to become traders and move into the other side of the river here pretty soon, of having like a bit of a Minnesota whiskey channel contingency. I've got a message into Rare Barrel about coming on and stuff like that. Maybe at some point we can do a meetup or something like that. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, don't throw us out of the Minnesota side.
Yeah.
Nope, never.
You're group.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not moving any further east than Hudson, because at that point I think it just starts to seep in. You know what I mean? Like,
it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't have that.
Old Fashioned Ways is here. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining in on the chat. Dennis Weedman, congratulations on the win. I'll send you a message on Patreon. Do you guys have anything to promote before we go?
I mean, nothing more than the usual. We do hope to do live streams at some point. We have, our usual Mystery Monday and, another video or two every week. We are going to be going on vacation for a week. Sorry.
Nice.
So you might see a slight hiccup in time there, and we're moving. So we've already said that to a lot of the people that follow us. We're moving, and so you're going to see a different background at some point in the near future. But we don't know what that background will be, but we'll try to bring the same quality and everything else. And we just really appreciate you having us and everybody else who's supported us. It's been so much fun.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Sorry,
our dog
Penny's
is
really losing it.
The dog's ready for you to sign off. Like, all right, come on, let's go hit the couch. All right, well, cheers, everybody. Everybody have a great night. Review of Bardstown Origins tomorrow. And we'll see you guys on the next live stream next week. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you. Cheers.